In Nest.js, modules are strongly recommended as an effective way to organize your application's components. For most Nest applications, an ideal architecture should employ multiple modules, each encapsulating a closely related set of capabilities. To illustrate this with an example, let's imagine that we were creating functionality around a shopping cart. If our application has a shopping cart controller and shopping cart service, both of these belong to the same application domain as they are very closely related. This would be a perfect example of when it might make sense to group parts of our application together and move them into their own feature module. For our I Love Coffee application, so far we've had everything in one big module. Let's encapsulate some of the work we've done so far with Coffee's controller and Coffee service and bring them together into their own Coffee's module. To generate a Nest module with the CLI, simply run nest-g module followed by the name of the module. Since we're building a Coffee's module here, we're going to type in Coffee's for our name and push enter. The CLI will now generate a module class and automatically add this module to the imports array of the closest module. The closest and only module in our application is going to be our app module. So the CLI automatically added our Coffee's module import here for us. Okay, so let's open up our newly created Coffee's module now. Looking at our empty Coffee's module, we can see that a Nest.js module is simply a class annotated with the module decorator. This decorator provides metadata that Nest uses to organize the application structure. The module decorator takes a single object whose properties describe the module and all of its context. Modules contain four main things. First being controllers, which you can think of as our API routes that we want this module to instantiate. Next are exports. Here we can list providers within this current module that should be available anywhere this module is imported. Next up are imports. Just as we saw in app module, the imports array gives us the ability to list other modules that this module requires. Any exported providers of these imported modules are now fully available here within this module as well. Last is our providers array. Here we're going to list our services that need to be instantiated by the Nest injector. Any providers here will be available only within this module itself, unless added to the exports array we saw above. Great, so now that we understand the basic concepts of Nest modules, let's group some of our previous Coffee's controller and Coffee's service files to be a part of this particular module. This will help us practice grouping and modularizing our application's functionality. Let's start by including these two files within our new Coffee's module. Inside of our modules decorator, let's first add the controllers property. This property expects an array, and inside of the array, let's add our Coffee's controller. Next, let's add providers, which is also an array, and include our Coffee's service here. Perfect. Something important to remember here. We originally had Coffee's controller and Coffee's service as part of our overall app module. So let's make sure we remove those references from the root module. This will help prevent us from running into any unexpected issues, as they would be instantiated twice if we didn't do this. As we can see, a feature module simply organizes code relevant for a specific feature, helping us keep code organized and establishing clear boundaries for our application and its features. This helps us manage complexity and develop with solid principles, especially as the size of the application or our team grows. Let's save our application so far, fire up Insomnia, and make sure everything's working still. Excellent. Everything still works as expected, and we've managed to encapsulate our Coffee logic into its own dedicated Nest.js module.